I have been building my course business since 2014 and it's now making $86,215 per month. In this video, I'm going to share how I built this business, including the unprofitable years, the platforms that were a total waste of time, and the 3 things that actually helped me get to over $80,000 per month. I made the mistake in thinking that because I already had a successful jewelry business with tens of thousands of followers that it would be easy to launch a new business selling courses. But here's what nobody tells you about starting a second or third business. When I first started teaching, I was not a natural. I'm a listener more than a talker. I don't think well on my feet. I have anxiety, a lot more so when I started my course business, and I'm shy. So these were all the things that I felt were working against me because I saw that course creators seemed naturally charismatic and outspoken and just always knew the right things to say. So having no experience with teaching, I had to learn how. And I think most people who are selling courses don't really take the time to learn how to do this right, and it shows in their student success rates and the quality of their courses. So how I started was by taking courses on Craftsy, who is sponsoring today's video. Craftsy is a platform for creative makers where you can find over 2,000 inspiring classes for all skill levels with step-by-step instructions in more than 20 categories like knitting, cooking, sewing, painting, and so many more. Now, before I started teaching, I took a Craftsy class taught by the amazing Gwen Bortner called How to Teach It, so that I could understand instructional design and the psychology behind how people learn and how to develop and structure classes. This was what really kicked off my entire career in being an educator. I've even taken the crochet classes that my friend Stacy Trott teaches on Craftsy, and consistently they are really high quality classes because I believe Craftsy works really closely with their teachers to design a really great learning experience. I highly recommend joining. For the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the video description, you will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. Having struggled with school and studying as a kid, I really geek out over the learning experience, and my philosophy now has become more about positivity and support and encouragement while giving my students really practical, tangible, and actionable steps, not fluffy theories that you can't take action on. Now, when I started, I thought having success with Tiny Hands, my very first business, selling handmade jewelry, would mean I didn't have to start my course business from scratch. But that's exactly what I had to do. I tried selling my knowledge and information to my Tiny Hands audience, but no one bought, and it didn't work. The people following Tiny Hands were not interested in what I had to teach about business. I literally had to start building my name as a course creator and coach from zero. These were completely different audiences with different needs. So you can't assume your audience from one business will automatically transfer to another, even if you're the same person behind both businesses. You have to build trust and credibility all over again in your new space, and that takes time. But that time can be shortened depending on how you approach your marketing, which we will talk about later. Now, when it comes to business, people often talk about finding your platform and then going all in, but what they don't tell you is how much time you can waste on platforms that just don't work for your business model or your personality. I tried everything. When I first started out, I was on Twitter because that's apparently where coaches share their thought leadership ideas, right? But I'm not witty or good with words in that concise format, and I really struggled on there. Then I started blogging, like I was documenting what worked and what didn't work in my own jewelry business. I shared income reports, experiments, reviews, all the stuff my audience wanted to know about. And many of my blog posts went viral on Pinterest and they ranked really well on Google, but I was getting traffic, but it wasn't converting into sales. So I was still stuck. I tried podcasting for a while. People enjoyed the episodes. They left me really nice comments, but they were a lot of work and I didn't see sales translate from the effort. Plus, I realized I do better with guests rather than just talking by myself. But if you can imagine, it is so much harder to manage and line up guests than to just talk to yourself. So even Instagram, which everyone swears by, while I do post on there, it's not my primary source of traffic and sales. It's hard to build trust on platforms that operate on such short attention spans. I can never say exactly the right things in like 60 to 90 seconds of a reel or a carousel post. Most of my sales don't come from social media like Instagram or TikTok, which take up huge resources to maintain, and it seems those algorithms reward consistent posts, which is so much work. So instead, I focus on paid ads, my email list, word of mouth, and YouTube. The key though is finding what actually converts for your business. I spent years being stuck at the same $10,000 per month level, which is so amazing, but after you deduct expenses, that is just not enough money to sustain living on. It was one platform that changed everything for my business, and that platform is YouTube. When I got into YouTube, it literally changed my life. I have so much fun with it. It is so rewarding from a creative standpoint, and it gives me a platform to share my voice, which is so fulfilling. But more importantly, I started seeing actual sales from my content. YouTube, because it's primarily long-form video, gives people the time and space to experience my teaching style and way of thinking for an expanded amount of time, as opposed to like a 60-second reel, right? People can know from just one or two videos whether we're aligned and if they want to buy from me or not. So many of my course students tell me they watch my YouTube videos before buying from me. But here's the thing, even though I got to 6 figures in my first year with courses, it took years to get to the next level. I was stuck at $10,000 per month for years, and then stuck at $30,000 per month for more years. There were also a lot of months where I was completely in the red with overspending, and that took time to restructure and rehabilitate. Once I broke through that plateau, it was surprisingly fast to get to $50,000 per month, $60,000 per month, to now $86,000 per month. YouTube has been the best platform for building credibility and trust, which directly translates to sales conversions so quickly. Nothing beats YouTube for sales conversions, in my experience. Now, if you want to get into YouTube for your own business, I have learned there are two major ways to succeed in YouTube. There's the hard way, and I did that for several years because, again, it's what I learned from other courses and coaches on how to do YouTube, right? I posted weekly videos for an entire year, and then like 2 videos a month for another year. That's how I got to my first 100,000 subscribers, which is a lot of work. Some videos totally flopped even though I spent hours on them, and then some other videos did really well. Now, I do YouTube the easy way, just posting about once a month, and it is way more sustainable for me, and I'm actually seeing better results for less effort. I actually have a whole system I developed around YouTube that teaches the easy way that takes a business owner first approach, which assumes you aren't a full-time content creator and have all of this time and resources to dedicate to each video, because you don't have time. As a business owner first on YouTube, you need each video you invest time into to really count and make an impact, right? Because it's so frustrating to spend all this time on a video only to see it get like 12 views. I talk more about this in my free YouTube masterclass. I have a link to that in the description below. I know what some of you are thinking right now. If I do so well with my physical product stores, why am I selling courses? Some people think that's kind of scammy. This is probably the most common objection I get. I mean, I read the Reddit threads and the comments. I know what you guys are talking about, and I totally understand why people think this way. There are definitely legitimate scam courses out there, but that doesn't mean all courses are scams, right? Here's my perspective on this. First, diversification is incredibly important as a self-employed person. If one business is struggling due to the economy or market changes, I have other businesses that are doing well. I never want to be dependent on just one income stream. And whoever said no to more money? Some businesses have natural ceilings. I can get my jewelry business to about $160,000 to $180,000 per year in revenue without too much of my involvement, but that's not enough take-home income to live comfortably in Los Angeles after you deduct expenses. If I wanted to grow that higher, I would have to push a lot harder, make it like my part-time job or full-time job, which I have no interest in at this phase of my life. And I've tried it before and I've really struggled with it. I believe some businesses just hit that natural ceiling. My jewelry business serves a very specific niche market. I mean, I sell scented food jewelry, and the market for that is only so big. We have another business selling print-on-demand wall art, and we have found that sweet spot of making several hundred thousands in sales for the year while not needing to work full-time on that, and we are happy with that. It has certainly made a lot more money in the past, but does require so much more effort to do that again. And it's not necessarily what's fun for us anymore to go in that direction. Right now, I am much more passionate about teaching. The market for education is massive and it allows me to impact way more people than I could ever reach with just my physical products. Having multiple income streams isn't because one business has failed. It's a really smart business strategy that I started developing for myself years ago because I knew I couldn't rely on just one thing. And I know so many people now who want to diversify because they're learning that putting all your eggs in one basket is a complete recipe for disaster. And different businesses have different growth potentials and different levels of involvement required. The goal is finding the right mix that gives you both financial security and personal fulfillment. Now that we've addressed the elephant in the room, let me tell you what creating a course business actually requires, because it's definitely not what most people think. Selling a digital course is actually way harder than selling a physical product, because it's intangible and it's harder to build trust. With my jewelry, I can show you the product, you know exactly what you're getting, but with courses, there are so many more moving parts to creating a funnel that actually sells. You can't just have a product listing page and expect people to buy from that alone, unless it was like a very low ticket offer. You have to create this whole experience with funnels, and there could be dozens of things that could go wrong and make a funnel unprofitable. I was stuck in this for years, and I was slowly needing to focus on optimizing different parts of the funnel to get to where I am now. It is not passive income, but I would say it's more like leverage income. I spend most of my week on my course business, making content supporting my students, developing new offers, doing marketing, managing my team. There were many unprofitable months. My course business was slower to take off compared to other people who started at the same time as me, because I think there were a lot of claims I personally didn't feel comfortable making about what my course could or couldn't do. And I built my course by pre-selling it and then creating it as we went along for an entire year. While I can work faster at course creation now, making a good comprehensive course that gets results for your students takes time for sure. I also had to work really hard on being comfortable with myself and my flaws so that I could appear my version of charismatic, not trying to be someone else. And that took years of practice and therapy and self-improvement and working through my anxiety and all of my overthinking. Here's the reality of the numbers. The $86,000 is revenue, not pure profit, right? About 40% of that is actual profit. 30% goes to marketing and ad spend, 10% to my team, 10% to continuing education, like investing in courses and coaching for myself, and then 10% to software. So we're talking about roughly $34,000 per month in actual take-home income. If you want to have a long-term course business, they do require attention, optimization, and genuine value delivery. Like, you have to make a good course or word is going to spread that it's not, and in time, people will stop buying. It is a total myth that a course business is passive income, and it sets unrealistic expectations that can lead to disappointment and giving up too early, especially since it's so competitive to do so. It's not enough to just put in half the effort, right? If you want to be successful, you do have to put in considerable time and effort. If you sell a course, you might have heard that people are saying webinars are dead, but I am having more success with them now than I ever did in the past 6 years. Webinars are where and how I make most of my sales. What didn't work was using templates like Russell Brunson's webinar style. Like, every expert out there has their own webinar style, right? And I try a lot of them, but always struggled to be profitable. So I made my own webinar framework. Basically, methodically creating my own version of the best bits of everyone's styles, inserting my own teachings, and also removing all of the bad parts that just don't work. That's when conversion rates and sales increased dramatically. I just love sharing knowledge. I had to work really hard to feel comfortable being myself on camera and in presentations instead of trying to copy other people's confident speaking styles. Once I leaned into that authentic approach and stopped trying to be someone I'm not, my business started changing for the better. So a lot of my success came when I stopped trying to fit into other people's formulas and created my own approach based on my strengths and my audience's needs. Getting to over $80,000 per month with my course business came down to 3 things: testing what actually works for my audience, staying authentic to my style of teaching and marketing instead of copying other people, and focusing on the platforms that actually convert rather than chasing trends. The biggest breakthrough was YouTube. which not only became my primary organic source of traffic and sales, but also the platform where I could truly connect with my audience and build the trust needed to sell courses. After building multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses, I realized there are really only 4 skills that separate successful online business owners from everyone else who is still struggling. Whether you want to sell handmade products or digital courses or any other type of business online, these 4 skills are what actually move the needle. So if you want to know what those skills are and how to develop them for yourself, definitely watch this next video on the screen here. And if you want to learn the specific YouTube strategy that helped me build this business, I also have a free class linked in the description below.